Pop in, say hi. We have had a little bit of, fun here, I'm going to say, because for the first time, I don't know in how long, how many years, I have not shown up when I said I was going to. I show up fresh like a loaf of bread every single day. It's what I used to say. Up until today, I have been trying to go live for the past half an hour, having issues with my camera. I'm going to blame it on I'm going to blame it on the eclipse. I'm going to actually say that it is a lesson for myself because just before I came live, I was kind of challenging myself to make sure that I was in before midnight. And I was doing dishes, making coffee, getting my pajamas ready, running myself a bath, all proud of myself, had 2 minutes to spare, rolled in here, hit that live button, and my screen is black. I go into a little bit of panic mode. Not super crazy because I understand these things happen. And whether or not it's something I need to update, whether or not there's a real problem or not, right? It was my intent to show up here. But the lessons are, not to leave things to the last minute. I was trying to scrounge a little bit of a rest day for myself. I was coming out of dollar days, the craziest weekend of the year. And let me go into my live on another computer here and let's see if I can at least, if somebody comes in, I can acknowledge you because on my laptop I don't even have a camera going on. There I am. I'm going to turn the volume down so at the very least I can watch my live and make sure that we're rolling okay. That was the only reason that I knew that I could do it this way is because I went right into my settings, couldn't figure out the permissions on my camera, right? Obviously, the camera is working, but somehow it's just not working on the display for the screen myself. I'm good with that. As long as we have a live going on, I'm going to be proud of the effort that I did everything I could to go live, right? Because I could have said, oh my goodness, you're so bagged now. It's so late at night. You got what you needed to accomplish today done, right? You tried to go live, right? Pat myself on the shoulder. Go have your bath, Cindy. Crawl into your pajamas, crawl into bed. How would I have felt, right? Without least giving it a shot, trying to see if I can resolve the problem. I'm a big believer in not crying over spilt milk, things that I have no control over. But I have to try, right? We all have to try. We just can't give up on the first try right? It's never give up. It's always never give up. It's always adapt and conquer. And even though you get hit with an obstacle or a failure or something, you fall flat on your face, right? That is a failure in the moment, but that doesn't mean it's an end, right? Of whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever that goal is, whatever your intent was. And I'm a prime example of that today. I have to say, the lesson for me is not to leave things to the last minute because I failed myself in the fact that, right, my life is happening and rolling in to the next day because technically today is not the 25th. It is now the 26th. And how that happened, I don't know. It happened, but I took it as a lesson because the lesson for me And it has been ongoing because we get these powerful words each week. And even though the week comes to the end in my sharing the content on YouTube, I come live into this show Monday to Friday. Uh, as I go into my weekend, I'm practicing that craft, and I'm still quite often mulling over the word and the lessons, and also saying, "Oh, but I could have looked at it in this perspective. I could have shown it, expressed it this way. I could have come in a little bit earlier and spent a little bit more time on that, right?" And I do that to myself. And I think we all do that to ourselves to some extent. So I'm here right now, right? It wasn't spilt milk. There was a resolution. I can see that I'm I'm going live through the corner of my eye looking at this display here. I'm good with that, right? Maybe seeing this is the 26th. Maybe it's that lesson that I got to take care of myself. Coming out of dollar days, I was really, really bagged. I was having Charlie horses, right? I wasn't having good sleep. And I love dollar days. Don't get me wrong. I love working at that pace. I love showing myself and showing the staff and showing what we can do when we work as a team. I love shining on the customers. I love the customers' compliments rolling in, right? The least amount of problems as I can. But I do recognize that I don't take care of myself in that process. I stay up too late when I get home from that night. I have my commitments to my live show, right? To my podcast, and I'm in that's not going to suffer in that, right? I'm not drinking enough water when I put that much physical and mental energy into that job that I ground myself in, that allows me to have this time, that I able to create this life that I have, this space that I have, and utilize that space for what I want to do, right? In setting those goals and achieving those goals, because that's what works in my life. That's the dazzle and amaze. That's the conviction that, I have to say. It's going to be up to me, that I can do this, that possibly I could have always done this, but I didn't know that I could, right? But there's still lessons in that. Tonight was a prime example. I could have come in this afternoon, right? Would have had the same problem, probably would have had the same problem, right? But I would have solved it just like I solved it now, 10 minutes after, right? I was supposed to, at the very latest, show up live for my show. And now, technically, I'm into the next day. So, do I consider this the podcast for March 25th? Or is this the podcast for March 26th? I think I have to say technically March 26th. I think technically I cannot say that I show up fresh like a loaf of bread. But the lessons I'm taking in, right? There's a little bit of disappointment in there, right? For me, by me, right? For those of you who may show up into my live and know I show up fresh like a loaf of bread, I'm going to say hi, Pearl, right? Because quite often she's there, right? She's at church, right? I kind of past few weeks kind of rearranging my life so I could kind of have conversations with her, right? Practice that craft and allow her to practice that craft, right? Because lots of us are making that kind of movement and not even recognizing what we're bringing to the table. And Pearl brings a lot to the table. That's 100%. But this isn't about Pearl. right? This is about failings in myself, right? Recognizing that I'm not infallible, that I'm not perfect, but I don't think I need to be perfect. And I think it's in that struggle. I've seen myself do this before when I was practicing my copywriting, right? I was, um, I was doing some writing and you know different insights, again, like what I'm doing here with the one powerful word, and I was doing that on Instagram, and I would stay up so late at night, right? But I was driven not to go to bed until I had something that I approved of. Most of the time it was okay, right? It was okay. But that's the practicing of my craft, right? That's the practicing of my craft. But I did wear myself down in doing that. And I think right now, possibly because it has been in the lessons, right? And I do know that, when you don't see the results that you want to see, that sometimes you can. I don't know. It's not a matter of being lazy. It's not a matter of not wanting to do it. Maybe it's in the idea that you've become disillusioned a little bit, right? Where's the evidence? And I have to be my own teacher. I have to be my own parent in that because, right? I say it all the time. Sometimes you gotta look a little bit further back in order to see the movement that you're making in the moment because those moments are in baby steps, right? And it's in the minuscule sometimes that we get the biggest lessons. 100%. So I guess I'm going to have to give it some contemplation. I have been in contemplation all day today because that was all basically that I could manage besides sitting in this chair and eating and taking in the lessons. I didn't have that energy for much, but I did manage to get things accomplished. The dishes, the laundry, cleaned the bathtub, did right. I got things done. But again, sometimes it's just like that pulling teeth, and I'm just putting off that idea. There's that quote. Why put off today what you can do? Why not put off today what you can do tomorrow? Kind of did that today, didn't I? Because we're already in tomorrow, into tomorrow. And if we're going to consider this my live for the 26th, I guess this is going to be the live for the 26th. And, well, I guess I'm off for the rest of the day. Maybe I'll come in and, right, have a conversation about it, an insight or a perspective. Maybe I'll just pop into my Instagram and maybe make that up with having a conversation with my friend Pearl. Who's to say, right? I think maybe just play it by the moment. Appreciate it. I gave it my best shot, right? But I left it too late, right? To make it right. And so I have to say, right? I no longer show up every day fresh like a loaf of bread. But I still show up fresh like a loaf of bread. But one day that is going to be, who's to say, from one day to the next, going forward at the very least. I have no idea how long I've shown up, right? Every single day. Years, I think. Only taking those September vacations off. It's neat. And I'm smiling, right? So it's truly not that big of a deal. I think we make it more of a bigger deal than it actually is. You guys, we are now going to pick our 33rd. Is it our 33rd word? 31, 31, 32, 33rd word we're going to pick right now. And if you don't know, da 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 da, what's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. We are going to pick our 33rd powerful word out of 54 words that we're going to put a deck together. And each week we pick this word and we hack away at it with different perspectives, stories, experiences. Sometimes my experience, sometimes somebody I know, somebody I follow, right? There are amazing, amazing teachers out there. Yes, teachers, right? That spew their thing in the optimistic idea that maybe somebody might catch on. I'm going to be very grateful to say, right? This girl has caught on to a few things, right? Promptness, right? This has been something in the lessons, not to leave it too late. Okay, you guys, let's pick our 33rd word. We're going to talk for a few minutes. It's going to be the first perspective, the first thing that comes to mind, first thing that comes to my mind. We're going to jump into it, see where it leads us, and we'll be back tomorrow. With a different perspective. Here we go. Our 33rd word. We got the word perception. Right? Just like I was saying, sometimes we can be our worst instigators in how we talk to ourselves. You know, I don't think that I'm unkind to myself. In fact, I would have to say, quite often, I'm more lenient on myself than I could be, right? That I have been. But it's only now in my understanding of my sensitivities, right? And it's not something I have to apologize for because even though I was a participant in the creation of those sensitivities, I don't think that all of it, when it comes to cause, right, and effect, that I have to beat myself up because it happened. It happened, right? I am highly sensitive. I am empathic. I come from a dynamic upbringing with dynamic and interesting experiences and ideas and characters and loves and difficulties and agitations and uncertainties and questions and hopes and dreams and goals, right? But we all have, but to a different extent, right? Because lots of us make that movement, and again, we don't appreciate ourselves. We don't take into ourselves into consideration, right? We don't. Well, up until recently, I didn't even realize that I was creating the best human being I possibly can, right? I knew I was a decent people, but only in comparability to what I surrounded myself with, not understanding there are well, true kindnesses out there, right? Truly amazing light in the darknesses that are trying to make this world a better place. And, with my experiences, the good ones and the bad, possibly I'm thinking that I had something to contribute, right? That possibly I could make a little bit of movement forward, not just for myself, but possibly for others, possibly for my own family, right? Maybe even, right? For family that hasn't even been born yet, right? Generations down the road. I bit that apple, didn't I? Right? And we started moving. But I met people along the way, and in butting heads and sitting still and being the student and the spectator and the ear, right? And the heart and the empath and the sensitive that I am, I felt out the truth for myself by picking through the different perspectives, right? Perspectives of people I admired, perspectives of people I thought were a little bit off, right? But everybody had their own perspective and believed just as much in their perspectives as I believed in mine. But we, each one of us, get to make the choices. Each one of us has to do that work of sifting through it all to find the bits and bytes that resonate with us, right? That join forces with our own perspectives, with the possibility of having a new perspective that, right? More than just me, or more than just you, or more than just this group has in their perspective, that maybe we can expand a bit, right? Maybe we could be a little bit more willing to sit in on these conversations, right? Spend a little bit of time being the spectator. Done it all my life, right? Most part in my hypervigilance, in looking out for my own safety, right? But these are the gifts of the highly sensitives and the empaths. And even though we grow a little bit differently, because we have to grow a little bit differently, it's in the environment that we grew up in. It's the environment that we live in the moment. And it's the environments that we would like to move into in our goals, our ambitions, in our dreams. Each one of us gets to make a choice of how we want to move, right? And in creating the best human being I possibly can. Like a good parent, I'd like to do a little bit better if I had kids. I don't have children, right? But each one of us would look would like to do better by our own children than our parents did by us, right? Or our parents doing better by them. And each one of us at any moment could make the decision, right, to at very least try. So I try, right? I try. And even though my perspective more than likely isn't bang on perfect, I think because of my feeling out, because of being so sensitive, because of that empathy, that I'm able to really go out there and find the true beliefs, right? Because what you think about is realized. And even if in the moment that I don't believe in someone else's perspective. Somebody believed in that perspective, right? And that was enough. That was enough. It's all spread out all over this world. I think it was purposely done that way, right? So that if we're making this movement and we needed those answers, then we wouldn't have any choice except to get into that mix, right? And that's just coming from one perspective. Tomorrow might be a different perspective, right? Because I do look at these things in a lot of different ways through a lot of, well, putting myself in other people's shoes and looking at it through somebody else's dynamic and interesting experience, right? And seeing how it enmeshes in with mine. And sometimes it goes somewheres, sometimes it doesn't, right? Okay, you guys, my bath is going to go cold. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my evening, right? Figure out what's going on with my camera. But in the meantime, I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye bye.